Hey everyone, Pastor Wes here with you on Wednesday afternoon. Hope your week is going well. Summer just won't quite let go. It looks like we're going to have some cooler weather coming up and be better than it's been the last couple of days. But I hope your week has been going well. And we're going to jump back into this study tonight talking about abundant living. And last week we were talking about learning how to embrace positive change in life. And we had referenced the prodigal son toward the end of what we shared last week, and it ended by saying that all change is not positive and all change is not necessarily good. The prodigal son, this young man, he could have decided that it was better for him to be a thief than to work with the pigs, and it would have been a change, but it wouldn't have been a positive change. The change he did make, thankfully, was a positive change. And it came when he said, I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired men. And from that moment forward, blessing began to fall. God only needed his cooperation. God only needs your cooperation. For the prodigal son, from the moment that he began to cooperate, the moment that he came to his senses, it was a ring and a robe. God's blessing flowed. And this question that keeps lingering in the back of our minds as we go through this study is, am I living in the abundance of God? Am I living in God's abundance? The essence of insanity, as we know, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And so embracing a positive change is all about trying a new approach, trying something different. We'll talk more about positive change soon and really how to achieve it. But for tonight, it's enough to just come to grips with the idea of what we talked about and owning our lives, taking responsibility for who and what we are, and coming to our senses, returning to the plan of God. We have to ask, does our marriage need to come to its senses? Does our parenting, how about our lives or our life patterns, how about our choices? Return to the plan of God, which is absolute abundance in every area of your life. It's all about having the balance of God. The plan of God contains a hope and a future, plans to prosper you, a plan that you can trust in, a plan that you can stake your life on. So let's move on to secret number 4 tonight. And secret number 4 is to make a plan. Make a plan follows logically from the first 3 steps that we've talked about. Step 1 was finding out what life is supposed to look like, where we answered the question, who am I, what am I, where am I, and what is it that I really want in life? What do I want from life? What do I want my life to be like? The answer to those questions is what helps to identify what God made you to do and really what God has called you to be. And remember, God has a plan for your life. And next, as I said a moment ago, we talked about owning it, taking responsibility for the choices that we made in life, and that we are at the point we're at because of the choices that we made. And so you have to realize the power, you have the power. You have the power of God through His Spirit to be anything that He has called you to be. No matter what the obstacles are in front of you, no matter what it looks like, God will make a way and He will equip you to be whatever it is that He has called you to be if you will just cooperate with Him and embrace positive change like we said. We'll never get anywhere without change. We'll always stay the same. We'll always stay in the same place because without change, nothing changes. The next piece of the puzzle, that make a plan. If you know where you are and you know where you want to be, the next step is to make a plan to get there. And I was reading in Nehemiah in chapter 2, in the first 8 verses. I love the story of Nehemiah because God has called this man with a broken heart to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. And the problem is that Nehemiah is a slave 900 miles away in Babylon. And there are some keys that we glean from Nehemiah in learning how to make a plan to get to where it is that we want to be, a place that God desires us to be. And these things, they hold true whether you're trying to build an abundant marriage, they'll work with your children, they'll work in trying to build a career. And first and foremost is you know where you are and where you're going. And this is why I said in the first week of this study that it's so vital that you be completely 100% honest with yourself about where you are in life. If you don't know where you are, then it really doesn't matter where you want to go. You've got to know where you're at. And many times in life, we always say the destination is the most important thing. The reality is that you have to start somewhere. Yes, the destination is important. That is the goal. But you've got to know where you are. You've got to know what your starting point is, because you cannot create a route. You cannot create a plan without a starting point to be able to get to the destination. Nehemiah, in the second chapter here, he's 900 miles away from his goal. He's 900 miles away from his plan, where he wants to be. He's a slave. He has no resources. And at first glance, when you read this, any logical person would say automatically that the odds are completely against him. And I've said many times before that if God wants you somewhere, then he will take you there. God always equips you for whatever it is that he calls you to do. And I'll say this again, he only needs your cooperation. All things are possible. The Word of God says that all things are possible to those who believe. And you've got to know where you are. You've got to know what you want. You've got to know what your resources are. What are you starting with? It may be nothing. It may be a lot. But know your resources. Know what they look like. And count the cost before you enter in. You've got to know what it's going to cost you, and you've got to be willing to sacrifice whatever it takes if you desire to reach the goal and be where God desires you to be. Once you do those things, then you're ready to prepare. You're ready to plan out your route in order to get to the place that you desire to be. And when I say plan your route, it includes setting goals and benchmarks and successes, roadway for success along the way so that you can measure your progress. For Nehemiah, it started in the fall. According to the beginning of chapter 1, he began planning early so that when he went and talked to the king in the spring, that he would know everything that he was going to need. He planned, he set out a vision for the future. And this is very important because once you make a plan, then it's time to act, right? Well, not quite. And that's where we'll pick back up next week. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I love you, and God bless you.